Welcome back. We are going to keep on plugging away at creating some shapes in Fusion 360. And this time we're going to add a little bit more to the kind of concepts that we started from last time with that shape that was consisting of a couple of rectangles that have been extruded. And we're going to add kind of a little bit more, and we're going to actually cut away at some of our shapes using the extrude feature this time. Okay, so to create this shape down here, I'm going to start the same way that I started the last time. I'm going to start by creating a sketch, and again, I've got my 3 work planes here. And I'm going to start by just looking at the top view. Okay, so I'm going to click on the top view again. And if I'm looking at this kind of rectangle shape, again, something that helps me is I like starting with one big rectangle that encompasses the entire part. So I'm going to take my rectangle tool, and again, I could press R on my keyboard to grab that, or just click it right up here. Press R, start at my origin, which is always a good practice. Start at the origin, and then I can get my dimensions for my rectangle. So the entire length of my rectangle, you could see we can kind of do a little math here to figure this out, but I'm going to start with this highlighted dimension that I have. It gives it to me as 59. For the bottom part of my rectangle, I see that there's 3 dimensions that are given to me. I see from the left to the very front lip of that slope is 45 in. The length of the slope itself is 59. And then that tiny little edge on the side there is 15. Now I could do all of that math in my head, but Fusion has a really handy feature where the dimensioning tool actually has a calculator built into it. So I could type 45 plus 59 plus 15 and then press enter, and then Fusion gives me the exact dimension that I need of 119. So that's just a little way that you can save yourself some time using this software, right? I see that I've got my rectangle, and what I want to do is kind of similar to what I did with that last shape. I want to just start with some lines that are just kind of roughly placed where I want it to go, and then I'm going to come back in and add any necessary dimensions. Okay, and for this one, what I'm actually going to do is I am going to start by just drawing the lines that go vertically here. I'm not going to worry about this kind of like L looking shape that you see down there. I'm just going to come back and do that second, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. Okay, but we're going to start with just these lines that kind of go from all the way to the top of the rectangle to all the way to the bottom. So boom, 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 and then we've got one more that's way over here. Okay, so looking at my picture here, I see that I don't necessarily know all of the information about the dimensions, but I do know enough to be able to put in all of the dimensions that I need to get my sketch fully constrained. So what I'm going to do is start by grabbing my dimension tool, and again I can press D on the keyboard to do that, so I'll press D. And then I see that from this edge to the very edge of my part is 45 millimeters. So I'll click on this edge and then click on that far left edge and then click one more time kind of off to the top there and make that 45. Okay, now from this edge to this line, we see that it's 22. So if I click on those 2 edges and then go up, type 22, now you see that all of those lines become fully constrained. And then the last thing that I have to do is come over here, click on this rightmost edge, and then click on this edge that goes into the left and make that 15 millimeters. Okay, now if I look back at my sketch, I'll see that it's fully constrained, which is great. That's exactly what I want. Okay, and from there, I am going to say, great, finish my sketch. And then I am going to start extruding, okay? To do this, I am just going to click on, again, my extrude feature and click on some of my shapes here. So this leftmost edge of my shape, I see goes up by 41.5. So I'm just gonna click extrude, click on that left edge, and then go 41.5. And then again, my sketch disappears. So I've got to go back over here to the left-hand side of the browser and reveal my sketch again. Okay. This far right edge goes up by 19. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. click on this far right edge and click on 19. Okay, now this middle portion, right? This middle portion, again, we could do the math in our head, but we could also just use that Fusion calculator for us to find out exactly how much we need to extrude it by. Because if we look at this shape from our home view, right, we see that this edge is given as 19, and we need to bring this up from this ledge 38 more millimeters. So we could click on extrude, click on these two squares because both of them go up to the same height, and then we could do that 19 plus 38 and then press enter. All right, so now we're almost there. We're just about done with our sketch. Okay, the last thing that we need to do is kind of cut away at our shape here to get that little slope that we see. So to do this, we can actually create an additional sketch on the 3D geometry that we've already created. So let me show you what I mean. If I click on Create Sketch, and then I click on this very side face here, this right side face, I'm now drawing a sketch right on this rectangle that I already have. Now, what I want to do is make it so that I can actually reference this rectangle. So to do this, I want to go ahead and go down to my Create and go down here to Project. Now, Project is a very handy tool. It takes any sort of 3D object that you already have, and it allows you to create dimensions referencing that already made geometry. So if I click on this and I click on Project, or I could just press the P key to get there. So if I click on Project and then click on this side face right here and click OK, now you'll see these purple lines kind of pop up. These purple lines mean that they are just referencing that already created shape. And then from there, what I want to do is cut out just this kind of little slope from here, right? Like if I was to look at this from my home view, what I need to do is add a line that kind of goes from here to here and then cut that material all away so I have my slope. So to do this, I'm going to use my line tool. I'm going to start in the bottom left of my projected sketch there. So I'm going to click there and then go all the way up until I make contact with the top portion of it. And then what I can do is I can take my dimension tool. So I'm going to press D for my dimension tool. And since I started in this corner, this part of the sketch is actually already fully constrained. The only thing that I need to do is give a dimension from this point to the very top of my line. And according to my picture, that is going to be 25 millimeters away. So if I click 25 and then enter, now you'll see my second sketch is also fully constrained now. So we'll go ahead and click Finish Sketch. And now what I can do is I can extrude away this material now. So as before where we were extruding to create material, now we're going to extrude to remove material. So I'm going to click on Extrude and then click on this little part of the triangle that I want to cut away. If I click on that, you'll see that in the picture it shows that this slope needs to go this way about 59 millimeters. To take away material, you just add a negative sign to your extrusion depth. Okay, so instead of 59 millimeters, I would type negative 59, and you'll see that it kind of turns that shape red, meaning that it's going to cut away at your material. And you could see over here on the right side in this operation, it'll tell you what it's going to do. So this is going to cut away by 59 millimeters. And I'll click OK. And that's it. Now I have my second shape. So there I used the Sketch and Extrude tool to create my 2D sketch, extrude it up to a 3D height and create material, and then also remove some of the material that I didn't need fully.